Bruce Jenkins was an ordinary man with an extraordinary fear. Spiders. To most people, a spider is just a small, harmless creature. But to Bruce, they were monsters lurking in the shadows, ready to pounce. His fear was so intense that even the smallest spider would send him into a state of panic. Despite this phobia, Bruce lived a quiet life in a small suburban home, working as an accountant by day and avoiding his eight-legged nemeses by night. One evening, after a long day at work, Bruce sat down on his couch to relax with a book. The house was silent, save for the occasional creak of the old wooden floors. As he flipped a page, something caught his eye. A small dark shape was scurrying across the floor towards him. Bruce's heart leaped into his throat as he realized what it was. A spider, and not just any spider, but a large, hairy one with long legs and a body the size of a walnut. He froze, paralyzed by fear, as the spider made its way closer and closer. Every instinct in his body screamed at him to flee, but he couldn't move. The spider stopped a few feet away as if it was sizing him up. Then, to Bruce's horror, it started climbing up the leg of his coffee table. Something snapped inside Bruce. He couldn't live like this anymore, constantly afraid in his own home. He decided then and there that he would conquer his fear. With a trembling hand, he reached for a magazine on the table, preparing to swat the spider. But as he lifted it, something in the spider's movement caught his attention. It didn't seem aggressive. In fact, it almost appeared to be curious. Bruce paused, lowering the magazine slightly. The spider had stopped moving and was now perched on the edge of the coffee table, looking at him with its many eyes. It didn't seem threatening at all. For a moment, man and spider were locked in a silent standoff, each sizing up the other. Bruce's fear was still there, gnawing at his insides, but now there was something else too: curiosity. Instead of crushing the spider, Bruce decided to do something completely out of character. He grabbed an empty glass from the table and gently placed it over the spider. Then, he slid a piece of paper underneath, carefully trapping the spider inside without harming it. His hands shook as he carried the glass to the window and opened it. But just as he was about to set the spider free, he hesitated. He looked at the spider through the glass, and for the first time he saw it not as a monster, but as a living creature, small, vulnerable, and just as scared as he was. Slowly, he brought the glass back inside and set it down on the table. He couldn't believe what he was doing, but something told him this was the right choice. Over the next few days, Bruce found himself watching the spider more and more. He even gave it a name: Charlie. He noticed that Charlie wasn't interested in scaring him. In fact, the spider seemed content to just explore the nooks and crannies of the house, weaving small webs in corners far from where Bruce usually sat. As time passed, Bruce's fear began to diminish. He still felt uneasy around spiders, but his bond with Charlie had taught him that not all spiders were terrifying. Some were just misunderstood. He began to research more about spiders, learning about their habits, their roles in the ecosystem, and their generally harmless nature. The more he learned, the less afraid he became. One evening, Bruce noticed that Charlie was gone. He searched the house, but couldn't find his eight-legged friend anywhere. A pang of sadness hit him. He had grown fond of the little spider. Days passed, and Charlie didn't return. Bruce began to worry that something had happened to his tiny companion. A week later, as Bruce was getting ready for bed, he noticed something new in the corner of his bedroom. It was a web, larger and more intricate than any Charlie had made before. And in the center of the web was Charlie, along with several smaller spiders. Bruce realized that Charlie had been busy starting a family. Instead of fear, Bruce felt a warm sense of pride. He had helped Charlie in his own small way by providing a safe home. Now, Charlie's legacy would continue, and Bruce's house would have more spiders than ever. But this time, Bruce wasn't afraid. He smiled and whispered, "Good night, Charlie," before turning off the light. Bruce's fear of spiders never completely went away, but it no longer controlled him. He had learned to coexist with his fears, and in doing so, he discovered a strength within himself that he never knew he had. Bruce and the spiders lived together in harmony, each respecting the other's space. And so, in a small suburban house, a man and his spiders found an unlikely friendship, proving that even our greatest fears can be conquered with a little understanding and a lot of courage.